Right now at 5, Hurricane Beryl clearing out of the Caribbean and headed to Mexico and the U.S. when we can expect the historic storm to make landfall in the States.
I'll have that and your local forecast because we are under heat advisory on this Friday. I'll have more coming up.
4th of July celebrations taking a dangerous turn, sending one teenager to the hospital. We're live with those details.
And the White House celebrating Independence Day. This as President Joe Biden faces growing pressure to end his re-election campaign. How he's responding.
Live, the one and only Local 10 News starts right now.
Well, good morning, South Florida. I'm Janice Fernandez in for Eric Yutzi this morning.
He's on vacation. I'm JC Bird. So glad you're waking up with us on this July 5th. Hopefully you had a great 4th of July. But our top story again this morning is Hurricane Beryl. The system regaining strength yesterday after hammering several Caribbean islands. Video shows rough waters crashing over Grand Cayman. The rare early season storm has claimed at least 9 lives so far.
And you are looking at images from the Union Islands, one of the hardest hit areas in the Caribbean. Homes flattened by Beryl's destructive path, which is now heading towards the Gulf Coast. We'll have more on Beryl's movement in just a bit. But first, Julie Durda has more on the ongoing heat advisory right here at home.
Yeah, that's right, Janice and JC. South Florida, we continue to be under a heat advisory. You know, millions of Americans are under a heat advisory this morning and have been for the past several days, starting from the west coast to the east coast. This is a coast-to-coast forecast that continues to basically bring us temperatures that are well above average, 1, record-breaking, and 3, unfortunately, the heat for us, we're no stranger to. Some areas, they just can't handle it. A lot of people across the nation don't have AC like we do. Now, this morning, we do have that heat index expected again, anywhere between 105 to 110 degrees for 2 consecutive hours or longer. And this morning, we're already feeling the heat out there. Yesterday, we broke the warm record low in Fort Lauderdale. Today, we could do it again with temperatures in the low to mid 80s. Feels like temperatures are in the upper 80s and 90s. The only saving grace today is we are anticipating a better chance of some sea breeze storms across some isolated to scattered areas. Nothing widespread, so not everybody's getting those sea breeze storms, but you know what? Any relief from the heat will be a welcome sight. Highs will be in the low 90s. Let's go to the tropics. We just got the 5 a.m. advisory in on Beryl. The system winds of 110 miles per hour now downgraded to a Category 2. Regardless, it's moving west-northwest at 15 miles per hour, and it is expected to once again head towards the Gulf of Mexico, and we've been talking about it headed towards southern Texas. As for watches and warnings, a hurricane warning in effect for Cozumel all the way up to Cancun, Tulum as well. As we zoom in, I do want you to see it looks as though the system could be making landfall later this morning right by Tulum before making its way back into the Gulf of Mexico and then moving in towards southern Texas. As we go into the weekend and early next week, our friends in southern Texas bracing for the possibility of a big flood risk, flash flooding possible from Brownsville all the way up towards Austin. I'll have a lot more in our local forecast for the weekend coming up.
All right, well, Jamaica is recovering from the heavy flooding and the damage after Hurricane Beryl just ripped through the island nation.
Now Beryl's bearing down on major resort areas in Mexico, with Texas also in its sights. Overnight, Hurricane Beryl strengthening back to a Category 3 storm, now taking aim at Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, where resort towns are bracing for a direct hit. Boarding up, evacuating coastal communities, while also moving 10,000 sea turtle eggs away from the storm's path in Cancun. The hurricane already blamed for at least 9 deaths in the Caribbean, damaging or destroying 95% of homes on 2 islands in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Beryl weakened to a Category 2 after hammering the Cayman Islands with a powerful storm surge and causing widespread damage across Jamaica. The airport in Montego Bay was able to reopen last night, but people hoping to leave the island found no employees at the ticket counter.
Frustrated passengers waiting for days. The Minister of Tourism tells me that all 3 international airports on this island should be fully operational this morning.
Now Texas is preparing, handing out sandbags in Corpus Christi for potential impacts from Beryl as early as Sunday night. Again, as Julie just told us, Beryl has just weakened back into a Category 2 hurricane as it reaches Mexico. And during this hurricane season, you can get up-to-date information with our free Max Tracker app. Download it now on your smartphone. You can watch live streaming coverage of our newscast and get the latest details as we track the tropics.
A local nonprofit continues to pack aid packages for those impacted by the hurricane. Miami-Dade County has partnered with the Global Empowerment Mission to pack those non-perishable foods, first aid kits, and other essential survival needs. The founder of GEM says they're also sending construction supplies to help rebuild homes that were damaged as well.
Thousands and thousands of homes that will need 2x8s, plywood, roofing paper, shingles, all that, or they will never get to go home again.
Donations can be made at the GEM warehouse in Doral, as well as county libraries in South Dade, North Dade, and Aventura. You can find more information on how to help on local10.com.
And now here's your Local 10 traffic update.
Pretty quiet on our major roadways this morning. Here's a live look at I-95 heading into downtown Miami. A lot of you guys sleeping in after those 4th of July celebrations. I don't blame you, but that means we don't have a lot to talk about on the traffic end. Here's a look at the Golden Glades. We are all in the green this morning. If you're heading 95 southbound, you can expect, we'll be able to pull up our speeds hopefully in the next 15 minutes. But a live look at our Broward County cameras. I-95 at Griffin Road looking good there. Sunrise Boulevard also all clear for eastbound drive times. 595 I-75 to US 1 will take you 12 minutes. University Drive to US 1 will take you 6. Guys.
Dazzling displays of fireworks lit up the night sky as families across South Florida celebrated the 4th of July. This is what it looked like in Fort Lauderdale last night. Families we spoke to say they are so happy to be a part of all the wonderful festivities celebrating America's birthday.
Just freedom, as my shirt says, land of the free. We all should come together, live peacefully as we're doing our different cultures.
Hundreds of people arriving at Bayfront Park early to celebrate and get a spot for the fireworks show.
Well, despite all that fun, 4th of July did prove to be dangerous across South Florida.
There were several reports overnight of celebrations that went wrong. Local 10's Hannah Yeshivi is live outside Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami with much more. Hannah.
Good morning, Janice and JC. There were several fireworks-related injuries last night following some of the 4th of July celebrations that took place. First, I want to tell you about a teenager who was injured in Miami Gardens, according to the fire rescue and the police department. They responded to a call for a 17-year-old male who was harmed by some fireworks exploding right on his face. We spoke to family members last night who said they believed it was caused by a faulty firework. Family also say the teenage boy is expected to be okay.
He ran up and his clothes was on fire, and we grabbed him, and he had a gash on the side of his face. His face was burnt on one side.
We also know that police officers responded to a call of a teenager shot in northwest Miami-Dade. He was taken to the hospital to be treated for his injuries, but it's not clear if this specific incident is accidental. That teenager is right here behind me at Jackson Memorial Hospital's Ryder Trauma Center this morning, and we're still working to figure out his condition. We're live in Miami this morning. Hannah Yeshivi, Local 10 News.
An off-duty deputy is killed in a motorcycle crash in Sunrise. Witnesses say the deputy was riding his motorcycle when he crashed into a car while attempting to make a turn on Springtree Lakes Drive Thursday. A mother and her daughter were taken to the hospital to be treated for their injuries. However, 27-year-old Anthony Zarahowski died on scene. Zarahowski was a deputy with the Broward Sheriff's Office. His body was escorted by fellow deputies to the medical examiner's office. That crash remains under investigation.
An arrest made months after a deadly hit-and-run crash in northwest Miami-Dade. Marvin Cisneros Garcia appeared before a judge on Thursday on charges of leaving the scene of a deadly crash. The victim was his own girlfriend. Police say he was driving on Northwest 17th Avenue in late April when his white Chevy pickup truck hit another truck. Garcia's girlfriend, Mylan Munoz Romero, died. 6 others were injured. Detectives say Garcia ran from the scene and didn't even try to help anyone involved or call 911. He's now being held without bond. And the first family celebrating Independence Day by welcoming active duty military members and their families to the White House for a barbecue.
President Biden celebrating America's birthday while also doubling down on his pursuit for re-election, insisting he is not dropping out of the race. Our D.C. Bureau Chief Ben Kennedy is in Washington with more.
Good morning. President Joe Biden said, "I'm not going anywhere when it comes to the 2024 race," as he prepares to hit the campaign trail later today in the battleground state of Wisconsin.
Happy Independence Day.
President Joe Biden marked July 4th with members of the military and their families.
As your Commander-in-Chief, along with the Vice President and the Secretary of Defense, I want to thank you for your service and your sacrifice.
A sacrifice he honored while speaking on the South Lawn Thursday night.
We're the only nation on earth founded on an idea. The idea was contained in that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal.
His remarks come one day after meeting with Democrat governors at the White House amid concerns following his poor debate performance, where it is reported Biden told state leaders that he needs more sleep and plans to stop scheduling events after 8 p.m. Sources tell ABC News that the commander-in-chief has privately acknowledged the next few days will be critical in determining whether he stays in the race, but believes he's still the best candidate to defeat former President Donald Trump, as Biden vows to remain top of the ticket despite pressure from members of his own party, with now 3 Democratic lawmakers, Lloyd Doggett, Raul Guava, and Seth Moulton, calling for him to drop out. Biden's response Thursday:
I'm not going anywhere.
Now Biden will sit down with ABC News later today for his first interview since the debate. You can watch it right here on Local 10 at 8 p.m. In Washington, D.C., Ben Kennedy, Local 10 News.
You can watch an exclusive one-on-one interview with President Biden tonight right here on Local 10. It's the president's first interview since that debate. He sits down with ABC's George Stephanopoulos for the primetime special. It's at 8 p.m.
New this morning, 14 years of Conservative Party rule have come to an end in the UK. This comes as Labour candidates secured a landslide victory. Party leader Keir Starmer will be the next Prime Minister. He spoke with supporters in London, saying it's time to put the country first and the party second. The outgoing Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, conceded that Labour had won the election and he took responsibility for the loss. One of the surprises of the election has been the relatively strong showing of the Reform UK Party. Its leader, Nigel Farage, who promoted Brexit, will win a seat in Parliament for the first time.
Brazil's former president facing a second formal accusation, now indicted for alleged money laundering for undeclared diamonds from Saudi Arabia. 2 sources with knowledge of this case confirmed Thursday's indictment by federal police of Jair Bolsonaro. It follows another formal accusation in May against Bolsonaro for allegedly falsifying his COVID-19 vaccination certificate. When Brazil's Supreme Court receives the police report, the country's prosecutor general will decide whether to file charges and force Bolsonaro to stand trial.
And still ahead on Local 10, a serial thief caught in the act and on camera too.
A crook going to great lengths to escape police after breaking into a homestead storage facility. More on this video coming up at 5:30.
But first, a dangerous day at the beach. Multiple people are rushed to the hospital after separate shark attacks in Texas. Details on this after the break.
Good Friday morning, South Florida. The time is 5:15. Temperatures are running very warm and above average. So warm yesterday, we actually broke the warm record low of 83 in Fort Lauderdale. The old previous warm record low was 82 degrees set back in 2022, so not that long ago. And guess what? I think we're doing it again this morning with lows well into the 80s. Our heat indices are expected to reach the criteria of our heat advisory, so therefore the National Weather Service has extended our heat advisory until tonight, with feels like temperatures expected to feel like 105 to 110 and even hotter in some areas. That's going to help spark the afternoon sea breeze storms we're expecting. Right now, though, all it's quiet on the radar and it's just warm and muggy. We have lows in the low to mid 80s. Like I said, I think we could get close to flirting with another warm record low, not just in Fort Lauderdale, but also Miami, 84 degrees in Key West. Winds anywhere between 3 to 8 miles per hour moving in off the ocean. As for dew points, well off the charts. Our dew points are in the mid to upper 70s. It is steamy. It is sticky. We have highs in the 90s. Highs will be in the 90s, but right now we have feels like temperatures in the 90s. So as you walk out the door, expect to feel a bit humid. Now, nationally, we are continuing to watch this ridge of high pressure in the southeast and the southwest, bringing this heat wave, and some severe weather could be possible across parts of the Midwest today, especially because look at these temperatures from coast to coast right now. We are in the mid to upper 70s and lower 80s across the south, out in the southwest. Phoenix at 99 degrees. So look, the extreme heat continues from the Pacific Northwest to the southwest all the way to the east coast, where that heat wave continues with triple-digit heat across the southwest. And then look, it's going to be hotter in Washington, D.C. today with 100 degrees, as well as Raleigh than it is here in South Florida. At least we have an ocean breeze and our sea breeze that will bring us some relief from the heat. Drier air aloft suppressing the widespread chance of showers and storms throughout the morning, but once we have that peak heating of the day, we'll see some of those scattered storms popping. Going into the weekend, a very similar forecast, not a washout. If you want to head to the beach or do some boating, there's a low risk of rip currents for beachgoers. Boaters, the bays will be smooth, so I highly suggest beach and boating today, especially to see some relief from the heat. Have a great day, South Florida.
And now here's your Local 10 traffic update.
I want to point out our live camera right now, I-95 at Northwest 151st Street. It's blurry, but we're seeing a big backup there. I'm working to find out what that is. It does not look like a construction delay. That could be a crash scene. So working to find out exactly what's going on. Let me show you exactly where this is. This is I-95 southbound, just south of the Golden Glades interchange. That's where you're seeing that yellow to red to orange. So just expect a lot of congestion if that's on your commute this morning. Again, I am working out to find out exactly what's causing all of that congestion, but you're going to want to avoid that area. You could take US 1 or the Turnpike as your alternate there. I-95 in Broward County looking just fine in that area. For our 595 commuters eastbound this morning, I-75 to US 1 will take you 12 minutes. University Drive to US 1 will take you 6. Janice?
Okay, Syra. 4 people are believed to have been injured by the same shark in waters off the southern coast of Texas on the 4th of July. The South Padre Island Police Department said it received a call reporting a severe shark bite to the leg. Police say that man was transported to a hospital in Brownsville. A second person was bitten by this shark. Another person was grazed and another person injured while fighting off the shark that escaped to open waters. A Texas game warden says there is no plan to attempt to contain it.
A Missouri woman presumed dead after being swept away by floodwaters on Wednesday. No barricades present when the car entered a creek and quickly became overtaken by fast-moving waters. A passerby rescued the driver, hoisting them onto the roof of the vehicle, but it was swept away before the passenger could escape. The driver taken to a hospital for evaluation. Rescue crews are searching for the missing woman as they wait for those floodwaters to recede.
Coming up, an important recall alert for Ford drivers.
The issue with its popular Mustangs that's causing concerns this morning, what you can do if this affects you when we come back.
The 7-day weather forecast is sponsored by USA Windows and Doors.
The U.S. Department of Justice is urging Boeing to plead guilty to a criminal charge after finding the aviation giant violated a settlement over fatal 737 MAX crashes. If not, the DOJ must file criminal charges against the company by July 7th in order to go to trial. According to lawyers representing families of the victims of 2 fatal 737 MAX crashes, the department is nearing an agreement with Boeing. The deal would include a guilty plea to criminal charges, a fine, and a corporate monitor. No word from the Justice Department on the potential plea. Boeing is declining to comment.
Well, Ford is recalling 30,000 of its Mustangs over a steering issue, and the cars in question are Mustangs with model years 2022 as well as 2023. Officials say these cars may have an improperly calibrated steering sensor, which can cause the wheel to move involuntarily. Now, there have already been 16 wrecks and 3 injuries due to this one issue. Customers are advised to ask their Ford dealer about scheduling a free software update.
Dania Furniture is recalling one of its bookcases after it ripped over and killed a 4-year-old child. The company says customers should stop using the bookcase immediately if it's not anchored to a wall and move it to an area where kids cannot access it. Over 900 of the Hayden bookcases were sold at Dania Furniture stores across the country. They were also sold on company's website from November 2017 through February of this year. You should contact the company for either a full refund or a kit to anchor it to the wall.
In today's Tech Bites, good numbers for Samsung thanks to AI. The company's shares are at their highest price in 3 years. Second quarter profits jumped nearly 1,500% over last year. Financial experts credit a major jump in the demand for AI. Next, new life for your old 80s mixtapes. FIO has announced a new portable cassette player. The CP13 can run for 13 hours of battery life once fully charged. It also has an all-analog circuit to reproduce that old-school cassette sound. And finally, Nike is discontinuing its line of self-lacing sneakers inspired by Back to the Future. And the app that controls the $350 shoes is going away too. Without the app, owners can still use the physical buttons on the sneakers to power them on. on and loosen the laces, but they would no longer be able to adjust the lighting. I guess they couldn't tie it all together. Guess you could say it was not working out. Those are your Tech Bites.
A Wisconsin dairy farmer is spreading the word of how to be a hit on social media and how robots can help offer new hope for the industry. With more than 4 million views on TikTok, he's showing others how his small dairy farm is milking it in the modern age. It all started when he was looking to modernize the farm a few years ago, but he couldn't find anything for small dairies like his.
The reason I started putting it all on TikTok was to give other small farmers, 60, 120, 180 cow guys, an option that, you can do something like this without spending millions of dollars.
The farmer is retrofitted a barn using milking robots and a machine that pushes feed closer to cows, an investment he says is paying off.
Wow. Okay, very interesting. All right, nothing like a little bonus baseball on the 4th of July.
But unfortunately, the Marlins ended up on the wrong side of the scoreboard. We're back with highlights of a close game next in sports.
And now it's time for sports.
Welcome back. Let's talk sports. The Marlins taking on the Red Sox on Independence Day, but the Fish didn't even have a hit until the 7th inning at Lone Depot Park. The bats finally coming to life in the 8th. Brian De La Cruz following Jazz Chisholm Jr. RBI hit with one of his own. That shot to right center, and it tied the game at 2-2. Then it would go into extra innings after Boston goes up 4-2 in the 11th. Jesus Sanchez evening out the score again with a monster shot. Another tie at 4-4. We were neck and neck. But then in the 12th, the Red Sox breaking through for 2 more runs, and they hung on to beat the Fish 6-5 in the final in 12 innings as Miami got swept in that series.
Yeah, it didn't look good for 7 innings. I mean, the Pivetta was outstanding today. Really good come from behind. I wish I could say win, but a really good comeback. Fun baseball game. Just unfortunate we couldn't come away with the win.
All right, on that note, that's it for your Local 10 News at 5.